What is up, everybody? I am PB Squamer. If you follow me on TikTok or any other social medias, you know I'm trying to get into YouTube. So a bunch of my videos about dealerships and cars has gone viral, and I figured this is the best way to segue into longer-winded content. So I put it out there on my TikTok. Ask me questions, and I'll try to answer them in a longer format. So let's get into it. First question: how to deal with salespeople at a car dealership? Now, if you have social anxiety or you don't know what to talk about cars and you're just trying to get a new vehicle, your worst fear is walking onto a lot and this guy is staring back at you. This is obviously a little bit of an exaggeration. They don't really look like that anymore. But I definitely have had the greasy sales guy that, because I'm young and all that, they think they're gonna get me over or something like that, and that is always gonna happen. And it's hard to kind of figure out how to deal with these people. My biggest thing is don't. I know that's an obvious thing, don't deal with the sales guy. But if you go in there and the first guy they hand you is some person you don't feel comfortable with, then leave. Come back another day. Try to kind of plan it out. My advice is aim for someone you would be comfortable with. The only good thing about cars places now is that dealerships are, they're getting younger. So you have people more like this. They're more my generation or generations of people that are now just buying cars. They're a lot easier to speak to than this guy. And I think that these guys are more common, and dealerships are kind of realizing okay, you don't want someone who's creepy and can get as much money as possible. You want someone who can sell cars because they're good with people. So that would be my advice, is how to deal with salespeople. Try to find someone you're comfortable with. Don't just car sales people shop. Just try to find someone you're comfortable with. And it takes a few times. To this day, my favorite car sales person is a 60-year-old woman named Donna, and she's insane. I actually, if you guys would like to hear another story about Donna, I'd love to tell you, but she drives muscle cars. She's hugely into V8s. She swears like a sailor, which is so odd for a car salesperson, but she is my favorite car sales lady. On top of the fact that she does amazing stuff and she's great, she also doesn't really care about commission. So when I'm trying to get financing and money and stuff like that, she will fight her manager for me. And that's something you kind of want to look into for your car salespeople, is the money isn't, their commission isn't the most important thing. It's getting you out the door with a good sale is what you're looking for. So try to look for someone you'll be comfortable with. If you show up and you're not comfortable with that person, come back a different day. Request a different salesperson. They deal with rejection all day. It's not going to hurt their little feelings that they were creepy or whatever and you didn't feel comfortable with them. I assume if you're a woman, maybe ask for a woman. I don't know. I'm a man, so I don't have anything on that. But, car salespeople, car shopping, things like that. That would be my advice. How to keep sellers from pulling credit too soon. Now, I've only had it a couple times. Now, the one thing I will say, I've had it a few times where I'll get there and they'll be like, oh, to test drive this car, you have to put down your credit. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we want to check your credit to make sure you're qualified to pay for this car. And honestly, if they're going to do that, I would leave. I'm not going to deal with a dealership that would do that. I'm like, you're not getting my business if you think I'm too poor or too low of credit to test drive your car. Now, obviously, if it's a 6-figure car, then I get it. If it's something ridiculous, but I've had dealership pull that on a $17,000 Charger, one that was 15 years old. They're like, well, we can't just let you test drive this without a credit check first. And I'm like, what? I could pull my credit on my phone. Obviously, you can go to NerdWallet, you can figure out what your credit is, and you can be like, here, this is what my credit is. You can see there's tons of apps you can use. My bank does it for me. They keep me updated on what my credit score is, things like that. So I would do that. Personally, in my opinion, credit is the last part of the conversation. You agree on, price, trade value, things like that. Then you get to financing. And the best option, and if you can do it, is getting pre-approved from a bank or something like that. Those are going to be the best options of going in there, because usually you'll get a better rate from a private bank than you will actually at the dealership. Now, I will warn you, they're going to try to finance at the dealership because they make money if you finance through them, because they get paid off the interest, just like your bank gets paid off the interest. But I would try to get pre-approval before you get there, or if you want, you can figure out prices, trade, and everything like that. You can call your bank while you're sitting in the dealership and be like, hey, I need to get this. And a lot of banks will on the spot approve you or give you 24 hours. So I would do that. Credits should be the last part of your conversation with the car salesperson because they shouldn't be running your credit before you agree to anything else, because then they're just doing a useless credit check and that's going to jack up your credit. CarMax and Carvana. Now, when I post on TikTok about dealerships, everybody comments all of this stuff like, oh, I love CarMax. Oh, I love Carvana. I didn't have to deal with the sleazy dealership or the dealers or the car salespeople. I didn't have to deal with any of that. There's a no haggle price, and that's great. And that would be awesome. If that's great. First, I have some issues with CarMax and Carvana. The first one is that you're getting wholesale value on your trade. So you're going to get less for your trade at both of these places. They try to take in as many cars as humanly possible. So they have a no haggle number that they're going to give you for your car. And if that works better for you and you don't want to haggle just because you don't want to and you don't think you're going to get any more, great. Those places are great for your trade. Second part of this is lemons. And this is like a big thing with CarMax and Carvana. CarMax is currently being sued a lot because they hand out lemons. Carvana, if you do one quick Google search, same thing. Lots of people are wondering like, hey, I got a lemon from them. Can I sue them? Things like that. And it's hard to get them to pay out. Me personally, I have a personal story example for this. My dad, he had a Mazda. It had transmission problems. And he was like, oh no, I can't replace the transmission. That's going to cost too much. So what do I do? So he Googled it and he was like, what can I do with the car with transmission problems? And someone on Reddit, something, said, take it to CarMax. So he took it to CarMax. They didn't drive it. They were like, it turns on, it looks nice. It's fine. They gave him the same price they would have for a car that didn't have transmission problems. And they took it in and then they sold it to someone else. I guarantee they didn't replace the transmission. So, you might have a great experience, but you might not. And I feel like you're more likely to get a lemon from CarMax or Carvana than you would that's like a Honda or a Toyota dealership. So that's my issue with CarMax and Carvana, the lemons. So how to get a good deal? Well, I mean, obviously do your research. That's the biggest thing. Kind of look into, what is the car you're looking for? What is a good price to pay for it? Now, you're gonna need to know things like what features you want or things like that. But just go to any of these websites, KBB, Edmunds, Carfax. Now they all use different marketing tools to figure out what the cars are worth. So when you do this, I would go to like all three, and it'll give you a better range of what prices there might be, because since there's three of them, you can kind of average it out, figure it out, things like that. Right now it's still a seller's market. It's not going to be for very long, but right now it's still a seller's market for cars. So for KBB, they give you a range. I guarantee it's going to be the top of their range. For your trade, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the lowest part of their range. I mean, obviously, the car I just traded in, I got less than the lowest part of the KBB value, which really bummed me out, but I wasn't super surprised. But this is a good way to know the kind of deal you're getting. And if you're me, I'll go in there and I'll be like, hey, your car is a good deal. So this is where you're at. This is like, it's a good deal according to Carfax and KBB and Edmunds and stuff like that. But I'm here for a great deal. And then I'll lowball them. And then they'll be like, no. And then I'll leave. And then every once in a while I'll get an amazing deal on a car because I'll lowball them enough that I get a lowball offer on a car that I get to keep. And that happened with my 2016 Dodge Challenger. And on the flip side of that, when I traded in my Volkswagen GTI, I asked for some ridiculous number that was above what the trade value was, and they honored it. So it is possible to get better values than these websites will tell you, but it's harder. And you don't have any proof, you're just asking. Is now the time to buy a car? No. Well, okay. It's still not the time to buy a car. There's still a car shortage. Car prices are still higher than they've ever been. But they are coming down. See, I mean, there's a bunch of websites telling you car prices for the first time in a very long time are coming down. They're not as low. They're not what they were pre-pandemic, pre-car shortage levels. So now it's still not the time price-wise. The other part of that is, as this one over here says, financing has gone up. I mean, if you're paying cash, this doesn't apply to you at all. But financing right now, interest rates are really high. The federal rates are very, very high. I just bought a 2012 Prius. My interest rate was 6.9%, which is way higher than I've ever gotten financed for any car. Even when my credit score wasn't great, I got better rates than that. So now is not the best time. I think there's going to be a sweet spot of time. I think car prices are going to continue to go down because people don't want to pay these ridiculous finance rates. But eventually finance rates are going to come down. And I think once they come down, it'll take, a month or so for car companies to catch back up and be like, hey, people are buying cars again, and raise their prices. So I think there'll be like a sweet spot. I'm going to say probably mid next year, 2023, summertime-ish, because that's when supposedly the federal rates are supposed to go down. So that would be my guess. My personal opinion, that would be the time to buy the car. And then there's also times of years to buy a car. A bunch of people say buy at the very end of the year because that's like car companies trying to hit their quota for the year. So they're much more willing to make a deal at the very end of the year. So if now is not the time in general to buy a car, but if you're trying to aim for a time of year to buy a car, that's what it is. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to join the Squamer Squad. Yes, it's cringy, but a little bit catchy. I'm going to try to make more content. There's going to be more dealership-related stuff. If you want me to tell stories about Donna, you may tell my worst dealership stories, my best dealership stories with more detail than I could do on like TikTok and stuff. Probably going to do that. Comment anything I can improve, do differently, because it's, just learning. Obviously, I did this on PowerPoint. I don't know what I'm going to do in the future. I do have a deal coming up soon with a car dealership, and that'll allow me to do different content and new content and very interesting stuff. So, yeah, see you guys.